Hi guys, it's Jenny Vibert here, and I've just got a quieter voice than normal because I have a really sore throat. So I just want to get this out to you though. So this is a go-to training session, and it's session, I'm just making sure this is still going, and it is good. This is session number 4, part A. So this is all about using the technology with a focus on polls. So in this series, there's 4A and 4B. This is what we're covering in this first one, all about polls, what you need to know, how you could use a poll, and then creating a poll before you're actually in the webinar, so part of planning. In session number 4, part B, we'll then have a look at accessing the poll that you've set up, launching it, and sharing the results during a webinar. So let's start here with what you need to know. And this is it in a little nutshell. A poll is one question. It has 128 character spaces and it's multiple choice. You can use single best answer or have multiple options. You can only have a maximum of 5 choices for your answers. Excuse me. It's used during a session to give real-time and immediate feedback. Also really good for stimulating discussion and engagement. And it can be created prior to the webinar, and that's how we recommend that you do it. That is, it's part of your planning process. You can then launch the poll during the training session, but you need to be the organizer to do that. That is really important. So let's look at how you could use a poll. Again, as I said before, it's great to use during the session. Think kind of turning point, but not quite as many questions. You can create a bank of questions, but when you're in the meeting, you actually need to select the one that you want to ask. I was thinking about the Lark's presentation and how it could have worked, although there was possibly a few too many. 3 to 4 might be a good place to start. When you're running one, it does distract slightly from the flow in the sense that when your Reggies are looking at the PowerPoint, when you launch a poll, the poll voting and then results take over the whole screen. And as I said before, it absolutely has to be managed by the organizer. So third dot point is actually the creating a poll. Before you're in the meeting, that is that it is planned. So let's switch over. Okay, I'm already logged in and I want to create a training session. So I might call it training session. There it is, I set it up, be there, 4A. I'm not going to put any description, I'm just going to get this one going. So I schedule it, knowing that I can come back and check all the details. You can see that I'm logged on as Mark Burgermeister. I'm coming down to add class activities and it's polls. So over here, I'm just going to edit because I want to add some polls. So think one poll is a question. So create a poll. Now I can create a new one. Multiple choice, and let's go with one answer. How sick is Jenny? And the answers could be very, only a little bit, or she probably just needs a drink. Oh, what happened then? That's my mouse, sorry. I'm going to get that and dump it down there. Okay, she probably just needs a drink. So I've got a question, how sick is Jenny? And there are my answers. So I save it. So that's now attached to that webinar meeting. I can create another one. How cold was it this morning? Don't worry about the typos. Let's go 2 degrees, 14 degrees, 3 degrees. Oh, that was a 2, 3. And remember, I've got up to 4. I'm only going to use up to 5. I'm only going to use 4 though in that instance. Okay, but I want a couple more questions. So again, I'm going to create the poll, but we have a library. All of these go into the library, and I'm going to have to keep my eyes on the library because it's going to get too big. So here's some that Paul had set up. I'm going to grab this one I quite like. How could you use a poll? And add it. And look, damn it, I'm going to go with one more. Create. Oh, no, I didn't want create new. I'm going to go backwards. I want to create, and from the library, how old is Peter? Okay, and add. So I've now got my 4 questions sorted. If I go, actually, that's not the order I'd like it in. I actually want how could I use a poll to go first? Then we'll talk about whether I'm sick or not. Okay, update order. And it's rolling, and there it is. So you can update them in the order that they'll then appear when you're in the meeting. Okay, so let's just go back to my running sheet and see if I've done what I've said we are going to do. And I said that we're going to talk about polls, what you need to know, and I think we've done that. Some important points, guys, though, is that it's a single question. A poll is one single question, okay? How could you use a poll? I think if we keep the numbers of polls down to about, 3 to 5 maybe during the session, I think if we plan to use them to kind of stimulate discussion and make sure that people are engaged, I really want us to create them before we're actually in the session so that they're sitting there ready to go. And remember that if you have somebody else actually producing the meeting with you, so you've got Lorraine or Terry or someone, they have to hand over the rights to being the organiser to you. You need to actually run the poll as the medical educator. And we've had a look now at creating the poll. So let's just go back to that original training session just to show you that it's actually there now. So here I am, training session 4A, down to add class activities. They're sitting there, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions, ready to go. I'll just check the time. I always like to make sure. Where is the timing? Yes, Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm happy with that. Once I'm happy with it, I can copy, select all, and I can whip out to an email, set up my email, and voila, off it goes. So anything else I need to tell you about this? Yep, I think probably we'll have some conversations real time. I think, guys, I'd encourage you to muck around with it a little bit. Have a look at 4B, which talks all about launching it in the actual webinar. But I think we need to have a bit of a planned approach about how we might use it with our webinar program. But let's talk about that later. Have a great rest of evening, and I'll catch